Hello and welcome to Geek First Sidequest, your weekly stop for video game news, reviews, and more here on the Geek First Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dan Marcaster, Dylan Musk, and I have with me the Rescue Corps, Kirklin Pats are on this fine evening to talk about some Pikmin, about some Spider-Man, about some other stuff. So, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very good. I'm just out, like real world stuff's going good, gaming stuff's going good, some exciting Spidey trailers going good. So it's just a really good time for the gaming realm right now, and in life in general.
Yeah, you want to know what's exciting? I bought something months and months ago as a pre-order, and it finally arrived today. You want to see what I got?
I do want to see what you got.
The
Oh my
Mario
gosh!
movie vinyl.
Holy crap!
Double
Look at that
album.
thing.
On the back, you got the boys.
That is beautiful.
Apologies to the audio listeners, but it's that beautiful kind of like movie box art, I
guess.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
I really like the inside. I want this as a poster, which is just like Bowser essentially on Final Destination with his piano. Like, I like how just minimalist it is.
Yeah.
And then check this out. So there's two versions. There's like a standard version where the records are like green and red, like the Mario Bros. Colors. But I got like a different special edition. So one of them is yellow. You got that Donkey Kong yellow going on there.
Oh, baby.
And then the other one is... I'm pulling it out right now. What color? What's your prediction?
I want to say like purple, just for like the random Waluigi pull. Okay. I know that's like not movie related at all, but still.
We're talking pink.
I should have guessed pink.
Yeah, so I got like the Donkey Kong Peach version.
Oh,
of it.
That's really nice.
So yeah, I technically have my record player at my house that was not set up, so I don't even know if I can listen to this, but I didn't even care. I was just like, I love the art of this thing. It was a bit of an impulse buy, but at the same time, I still thought about it for a few weeks. I'm like, this pre-order window is like up for a month or something like that. Like, I don't know if I should get it, and I'm very glad I did. It's very beautiful.
That's what I did with my Cimmerillion. There's like the deluxe edition of the Cimmerillion, and I'm like, it's so expensive. It's coming like all the way from London, so I have to like pay like duties, but it's like... Yeah. Do I do it though because I want it really badly? And then I had like weeks because it was a pre-order, of course, so you can cancel it at any time. And then I had like months to stew on it, and it's like okay, no. And then when it came in, it was so worth it. Oh, it's so beautiful, and just like your copy there, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, especially for those like limited run things. They usually take like many months because they like assemble all the orders, make them once, and then send them all out. So it takes I probably got this around. I think I got it actually like right after the movie came out. So it's been waiting in the wings for a while. So I'm glad to finally have that at my house. But what else is going on? For some plugs, real quick. A lot of exciting things right now, like on the feed. There's so much content going on. Of course, we got the Barbenheimer review that's out now on the main feeds. I released a bonus episode on the Sidequest feed, a little Marvel Snap focused episode, just a solo cast that was pretty fun. And then this weekend, Kirklin, me and you and Dante are finally reuniting to close off the Arcane rankings, which we intended to do a while ago, but then I was gone, then you were gone, then Dante was moving, and then all these things. But we're finally recording that final episode, doing a ranking of all those games, our favorite levels, our favorite characters, weapons, and all that fun stuff. So we're going to record that this weekend. So if you're on Patreon, you get that episode juicy, nice early ad-free version. I don't know what I'm going to put up on the main feed yet. It might be another week or two. You never know. So the best way to get it is to hit a Patreon where it's going to drop this weekend. Of course, every other episode's up there early. Maybe sometimes early, if not at least ad-free. You can get that exclusive ad-free feed so you can listen to your stuff in your favorite podcast app, minus Spotify. And that's all good over there. And then we just have a few short days left on our goal that we're trying to hit by the end of July 31st to get 50 patrons. We're pretty far from the goal. I don't know what's going to happen at this point, but if you want to hop in there, you can try to unlock some bonus episodes, and we'll be eternally grateful. So I think that's it. Any shout outs from you on the feeds? I mean, what else? We got Secret Invasion.
That's
we got
right.
Our regular newscasts. I think our 8
Finale.
years releasing this week. Our Comic-Con cast. So a lot of fun stuff's going on right now. It's a great time on the feeds.
Yeah, lots of reviews. Of course, we came up the Barbenheimer weekend, so both of those are in the feeds now. Just a lot of content.
Yeah. Let's get right into it then. So Pikmin 4 is the latest big Nintendo drop. It came out just a few days ago here. Of course, the fourth like mainline game in the series, but it's been a long time since a release. If you don't count the Switch just re-releases of the earlier trilogy, I guess. So, Kirklin, you have been playing this game over the weekend. So I'm curious, how far are you, and what are you thinking so far? Tell me all about this thing.
Yeah, I this was actually the first Nintendo like demo that I led into a game. I played through the entire demo in anticipation for it, and the demo probably took me like 4 hours. I feel like that's kind of on the longer end just because I was like exploring and doing everything, and it was actually longer than I was expecting for the demo to it wasn't just like a day 1 or day 2 thing. It's like once you get to a certain resource, then your demo ends.
Which is such a weird way to do it. Like,
yeah, it is, because
so
it like it introduces you to like a bunch of new things that are happening at that point in the game too. So of course you just like want to interact with it, but then the demo's just over. But fortunately, I finished it basically right at the release of the game, so I didn't have to wait too much longer there. And so yeah, that the demo was about 4 hours, and for some reason on my Nintendo Switch it doesn't say what my hours are for the game. It just says like first played a day or so ago. So,
it takes a couple weeks for it to update it to like your hour count. Even if you only have like an hour, it still just says that for a week or two. It's very weird.
Yeah. So I was hoping to have like a nice round number for you leading into this, but I want to say it's probably like, if I have 4 hours in the demo, it's probably like 5 or so in the main game. So like probably around that 10-hour mark of total gameplay, I would say. And man, like, yeah, I am just absolutely loving this game so much. I should preface that like I've only played the first game, but I love that one so much. That was just such a mind-blowing experience to me as a wee young lad. You and I kind of talked about it on a previous Sidequest, just that's where I gave my little history on it. But yeah, I just loved what the game was. Never even owned it. I just like rented it from Blockbuster like we used to do back in the day.
I thought we eventually figured out that you borrowed it from a friend, but then they
that's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. No, you're completely right. It was my friend Kalen Bayford. Shouts out to you, my friend.
Wow,
yeah, he lent it to me.
There we go.
Look him up, kids. He's famous, I'm sure. But no, yeah. So there you go. I never owned it, but just dabbled in it, and I just loved what it was. I thought it was so unique. And playing Pikmin 4, of course, I've missed the last the last few titles, but I just thought that this was like exactly what I was kind of wanting from this game. Not so much expecting, which is usually not the way that it goes, and super fortunate that is the case here, because it just expanded upon so many different like aspects to what. And again, I haven't played this game in a very long time, so my memory on the first game, like the full length of mechanics and features, is a little bit limited there. But just everything that I'm interacting with feels brand new and like a fresh coat of paint. And it just, like, some of the things that I remember not liking about the first game, specifically about like the time limit aspect to it. I like how it does have a story implementation for all of that stuff, so it makes sense why it is there. But it's just like anxiety driving sometimes when you just want to explore the world. And Pikmin 4, it's just so beautiful. All the different areas that they've designed in here, just all the attention to detail. Whether it's the 110 unique different enemies, which is just crazy to me. I just can't believe that there's actually 110 unique
That's
enemies.
Crazy. Oh
yeah.
God.
Oh, I know. I was just blown away. Like, I'm kind of bouncing around here. I'll get on a straight path here.
Oh, it's all good. Let's do it. Yeah.
Eventually, but
embrace it.
There's a couple people that you interact with, and one of them is like an animal expert sort of thing, and then that's where you kind of like see the catalog of all of the unique monsters. Of course they're locked, so I don't know what they all look like or the names of them all, but I was just shocked that for everything that I encountered, like, I just feel like I'm less than like 5% of like seeing all of the different enemies. And it's just, it blows my mind. And like encompass that with the different treasures and stuff that you interact with in the game, because I mean, if you've seen the trailers out there, any listeners, like, you'll know that you're kind of on it's almost like a Toy Story type vibe, where you're like on in the garden. So of course there's just really big objects that like a baseball or something. Like, those are the treasures that you interact.
Like, do you know that?
I don't exactly know that. I'm assuming because it's just like very recognizable in that sense. Some of my favorite treasures have actually been kind of like the fourth wall breaky type ones. So they have actually like Nintendo products.
Yeah, there's a Game Boy Advance SP in
Game
there,
Boy
right?
Advance, and it's so great because like it's in there, which is cool. You have your little Pikmin carrying around, but like be, I'm all over the place here, so I apologize. I'll talk about the story here in a second, but because you're basically coming from a different planet, every time that you interact with something like that, it's not just called a Game Boy Advance, it's called like the tablet of advancement, and it's just it's like describes how they would see it. So there's like a foldable bird or something, and it's just like it's like sharp swan or something they call it. I think there was a like a ring pop, like the candy thing, and it's like sticky jewel is what they call it. So I just love all those moments because to me, something that's just totally hit me out of the gate is just the vast world building of this game. And to kind of get back a little bit on track, for the story element, you very, very early on, it's known that Captain Olimar is, you know who he is. He's the legend from the first game. He is returning to Earth from his, or wherever his planet is. I can't remember the name of it. It's not Earth, but their home planet. Mm-hmm. And he, of course, just crashes on the way back, and then he lands on this Earth-like planet. And then you are the rescue corps, and you have to go out and save him. And there's an initial rescue corps that goes there, and of course stuff goes wrong, so then you make your own rescue corps individual. You're like the rookie that gets sent there to basically just find people and save the day. The main goal is it's not super clear if like the main goal is just Captain Olimar or just rescuing everyone. I feel like it's kind of one of those things that the main quests is like a collection of things. Like you have to fully repair your main spaceship to just build up the like a bigger radar so that you can scan different areas to find more people. I feel like another main quest is just like to find all of because early on you find that it's not just the rescue corps people on this planet. There's also just explorers, basically civilian type people that are just going there for I think the story reason was that they're responding to like Captain Olimar's SOS messages there. So there's so many things to like try and find, whether it's treasures, new Pikmin, just boosting up your Pikmin quantities, like the main rescue corps team, but also all of the different just people that are there. So I feel like there's never a lack of things to do in a game like this, which makes sense because it really is all about just strategizing what you're doing with your day. There still is like the day and night cycle, so you are limited in that sense, but it's not so much like you only have 30 days until you like your life support, or I don't even remember what the story reason was for the first game, but you have unlimited time to complete it as far as I'm aware. Each day is a limited time, but something that they've introduced, and again, I don't know if this was introduced in either the second or third game, but they have they're kind of like dungeons, I would call them. I think they say like sub-levels, and when you go down into those, time actually doesn't increase. So I think it might come up like a sixth or something. So like if you go into the dungeon, when you come out, like in the day progression, it might have gone like a sixth of the time than when you went in. So yeah, you have like a free range to just completely explore in those aspects, find all the treasure you can, find all the wild Pikmin they call them, so you can find those, and they'll just come with you when you leave. So it's a good way to just boost your numbers in that aspect. But they're pretty much littered throughout like the various areas. Right now, I've unlocked, I think, the fourth area I just unlocked. So and I should say, like, the way that you find these different areas is by finding basically more upgrades for your main ship that increases the radar span. So you can see these different areas, and then you can go explore in them, and you can always go back to like the different ones that you've already gone to.
So is it different areas like in that first game, like you're loading into a different zone and then you're in that smaller? So I thought it was more of an open worldy sort of situation, but it's not the case. It still kind of has that original game structure.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something that I was a little bit foggy on. I was actually going to ask you about that, of just comparing it to the first game, and because I couldn't remember if it was just the one location or if you go back to a different loading screen essentially.
Four locations in the first game. The first one's very small too, so pretty much just three kind of open worldy sort of, or I wouldn't say open world, open areas that you're unlocking shortcuts, and so I'm guessing you're doing that same sort of thing where you're making bridges for future expeditions and breaking down walls and things like that, right?
No, exactly. And then like maybe the first area that you go to, there's certain things that only like an ice Pikmin can get you through that area. But of course you don't
Right.
have that at that point in time, so it does incentivize you to come back. And it does have like the percentage complete for the area, so you kind of have a rough idea as to how many things you could still find. It is nice too because when you select those areas, they'll give you like a quick briefing as to what could be there. So if you're just trying to find like another like another rescue corps member, they'll kind of like single certain areas so that if you just want to focus on on that as opposed to just looking for treasures or different Pikmin and things like that, then you can have a good idea because like that's how you start your day. So you're there the whole day. So you are kind of committing in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But
That makes sense.
yeah, and so I do really like just the story overall of the game. I feel like it's just a really palatable story to just like have me on this random planet with Pikmin and looking for things. The whole rescue core idea is something that I think just fits so well with this Pikmin genre and something that's so new to me playing these games. I can't speak, of course, for the second or third title, but is just the inclusion of like NPC characters. Like there is
Oh,
so
okay.
many different people that you actually interact with, like various rescue corps members that you rescue. The people that you save actually kind of like stick around so you can chat with them. You kind of have like your home base area, and that's where I was saying you have your main ship, which is it's like the deep space travel ship, and then you have this like little pod that takes you to different areas on the
Gotcha.
map, and then
Yeah.
of course you have the onion that follows you, like classic Pikmin.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little spaceship there, but yeah. So you have your main little hub, and as you progress in the game, they like they say that they're doing work on it. They're making it just a little bit more manageable for more and more people that you rescue. It is like a science-y type expedition, so you meet like doctors and like
Wow.
scientists and
That's
stuff,
crazy.
and yeah, and like the science guy, like he unlocks like a laboratory, so then you can upgrade your character, and that's something that when you start every single day, you start in this little hub area. So then and of course, the time hasn't started, so you can just kind of free roam there as long as you want, and then once you go on the expedition, that's when the clock basically starts and you have only a limited time before nighttime comes, the classic Pikmin thing. But yeah, no, I think the hub is a really really cool idea, and just making this world feel like lived in and there being not just me on this planet is something that's just it's a big breath of fresh air in my thought there. Just because like I feel like when I'm going out to find things, it's like exciting on who I might interact with, because a lot of these characters have like really quirky personalities. Some of them are just like really funny. They all have their different personalities and the way that they interact with themselves, because like they're basically coworkers. They were all rescue corps. So if you find someone like later on and just have like one of your earlier rescues interact with someone else, it's pretty cool. It's not like the most in depth in the sense of I can like fully customize the main hub how like some
Mm-hmm.
other games have done it, but still it's just something that I wasn't expecting, and it makes like my morning my in-game morning routine pleasant, because you do like your morning strategy meeting where the captain of the rescue corps like assembles everyone, and then you kind of talk about certain things. So it's really cool. Like I'm just really really digging that gameplay cycle where it's not just like I'm annoyed when it gets to nighttime, like okay, I'm gonna have to go through all these
Right.
little chat bubbles and text. Like I really am looking forward, as well as like everyone that I've saved that day, go back and then kind of interact with them and see what they're doing, because some of them are like biologists, some of them are like a basically like a treasure appraiser. So you got lots of treasure that you're looking for, so it kind of fits there. But some of them are just like random people too, so it is kind of interesting and seeing like where they came from, because they all have like a different like ID tag, so they have a name and like what planet they kind of came from. So that's really really cool. Sorry, I'm just gonna get some water. I'm talking a
Please
lot.
do. I have a lot of questions too. So I'm curious. So you're saving people out in the world along with like spaceship parts. So that stuff makes sense. But when you get one of those Game Boy Advance, for example,
Yeah.
what does that do for you? What is the reward for bringing that one in?
Great question there. Yeah, so they early on they state this thing. I think it's called sparklium. Just a very
Classic
very
Nintendo-y
cutesy type.
name there.
Yeah, exactly. And somehow they found a way to harness that into energy, so that they take the sparklium from these like treasure items, and then that's basically what upgrades your main ship. So
Gotcha,
it's
okay.
making your radar better. I'm sure it will be giving you some different upgrades like later on for the main ship. So yeah, like that's the main point of the treasure. You have like a big sparklium meter that collects, and again, that's something that you can just be tracking for as like a main quest, just only collecting treasure to just keep increasing like that radar so that you can go to different areas. But
Yep.
you can also just kind of pin a different mission, like looking for rescue corps members, like I was saying, or looking for just like the onions, like I think they have certain ones called, I'm probably gonna butcher the name, but it's like flarlic or something. It's a piece of garlic, but with an F and L in there
Sure,
somewhere,
yeah.
and that just gives you basically like a higher cap on your Pikmin, so you can either store more Pikmin or even have more Pikmin with you. Because I think early on you can only have like 20 or so. Right now I'm around that 50 range, and
Oh wow,
I
okay.
I think you can get a lot more than that. I have no idea what the cap is, but even just having 50 Pikmin seems like quite a few from where I started on.
100 was like the cap you could get in the first game.
Okay, I would
And
imagine.
I
it's
mean, there was no
probably that
limit
then.
on like when you had access to that because there wasn't like
Okay.
upgrades, right? It was more just like how quickly could you accumulate
And
100. So I'm sure you'll get
yeah,
to at least 100, if not more.
yeah, no, absolutely, and that's something that's actually really cool about this game. I found is it's not just like a set linear direction to get things. Like I'm completely free with going which area I want to go to, and I could just max out every single area before I move on to the next one. Or if I could just do the bare minimum to increase that radar range, that I can just go to different areas and just explore like the whole world. Because like I said, I've unlocked the fourth area now, and just each of them have some cool uniqueness to them, whether you're in like a garden with tall grass, and in the distance you can see like a playground that's just massive
Oh,
from your
that'll
little
be
eyes.
fun
So
to go
really
to.
really
Yeah.
cool attention to detail in that aspect.
Is there a favorite location that you have so far? Like a little set piece
um
that's stood out?
Probably, I don't even know what it's called, but the second area has like a lot of water in it, and that's when I was really using like the ice Pikmin. And if you have enough, you can just freeze the entire lake, and it
That's
opens
cool.
up so many different routes that you can go, which is really cool because that's something where like you don't necessarily have, well, maybe to get all the treasure and stuff you would have to use your ice Pikmin, but you can also just like detour, go around, do the really long route, or you can get these, they're like these little crystals. It's like your building resource. It's also your resource for when you upgrade in the lab.
Mm.
But you can use your Pikmin to build bridges and stuff with those. So you can collect the resource, but you can also spend it, and you just have your Pikmin, as opposed to taking something to your ship. They go to your ship, grab the resource, and then go to the bridge and build it up
Yeah.
that way. And then you can just just figure out which way you kind of want to tackle the environment. I do like to just kind of explore everything, like get rid of all of the fog of war, as they would call it. So
Sure.
I just like to explore all the different areas. But yeah, that one in particular, because there was some big monstrous looking creatures that just completely surprised me, because I was just walking along with my Pikmin, enjoying my day, and then there's a big flower, and then all of a sudden it just like the eyes opened up, and then it just shot out like almost like a Dark Souls enemy, where it just came out of absolutely nowhere, and it just shocked me. I just see my little Pikmin souls going up, like, oh
Oh no.
no.
That's sad. So which Pikmin types do you have access to?
Yeah,
I'm
so
guessing you got like the basic like red,
yeah.
yellow, blue pretty quick, and then is ice kind of the fourth one you get added on there?
So um
'Cause I
and
think I believe ice is new to
yeah,
4. I
it
don't think I've seen it
is.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a new, because they do like a big emphasis for it, so that kind of
Sure.
what makes me think that. And I I don't know if I got it in the right order, or if it's just because like the way that I was going about my my little, I don't know, adventuring. I ended up getting red, of course, first because that's the starting Pikmin, and then I got yellow next, which I feel like I kind of skipped blue, and then I got ice, and then I got blue. So I kind of did it in a weird order there. And then I've also experienced the glow Pikmin, which is it's something kind of separate. Like you don't have them with you. It's only for like these specific night missions, which are basically like a tower defense game, which is just crazy because yeah, I was actually pretty shocked. There's some different in-game game modes that it's not like you can just go to the menu and select them, but like while you're actually in the game, you experience some different ways of playing the game, which is kind of interesting. Because yeah, like the night missions I was telling you about, of course your Pikmin just get lit up at night by the giant monsters. So after you unlock the doctor, she kind of tasks you to collect these things during the nighttime. So then you go back to the first area that you're at, and you experience the glow Pikmin, and they're just like super buffed at night, and just allow you to just destroy these mobs, because and the mobs basically just walk in like a straight line, like a tower defense would be. You have a certain amount of time to kind of defend it, and you collect just like different seeds to increase those numbers of the glow Pikmin. You still like move around normally. It's not like it is a completely different gameplay where you actually have to build your towers and stuff like a traditional tower defense, but it's the same sort of feel of just like you got mobs coming in, they get harder and harder, and I only had the one mission, but I know you just go through that specific character to accept those missions. It's not like an area, because of course you can't normally play at nighttime. But,
Interesting. So at nighttime you're still forced to go back to your ship, and then you set out again to do those missions. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to ask you about that. I was wondering if like obviously there isn't a time like 30 days, to complete the task or anything like that, but I was wondering if it was like you just can go through the day-night cycle and stay in one area as long as you want. But that's an interesting way to do it, I guess, with the missions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it like even just the whole the whole template for what the game is, of just you don't have like a set amount of time, but just through the story elements, they have a certain urgency that they kind of like put on the player without you actually being forced to. Like I could kind of ignore my tasks, but I don't know, my moral obligations as a rescue corps member, I just feel like I want to rescue the team. I want to get the full strength and then just get these different upgrades. So just like finding that balance, and they really give you a lot of like creative freedom, I would say, in that aspect of just formulating your day. And like I should have mentioned earlier too, you can I don't know if this is the same for all the games, but you can only have 3 different types of Pikmin with you at once, even though like although I don't have all the Pikmin yet, I know that there's like I have the red, blue, ice, yellow, and the glow, and then I know that there is the purple, there's the white ones, there's the flying Pikmin, there's like the rock like black ones. So
there's like a metally one.
Yeah.
I didn't know those flying ones. That's interesting.
Yeah, they're like these little pink flower things.
Oh, right. Yeah, because when Almar like recovery and Smash is like one of those is lifting it up into the sky.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So and I don't know how many if all of those are like the brand new ones for this title. I know the ice one is for sure. But yeah, no, I'm
I think
excited
glow
to
and ice
those.
are probably the 2 new ones, it seems like, for this game.
Yeah, the glow ones I would say so, because it has like the story reasoning for being in there. And something else too that's brand new to this game is the inclusion of your like your rescue pup. So
yes, I was going to ask you about that guy.
Yeah, you probably saw him on the trailer and the cover and everything.
Trailers.
Yeah, so his name is Ochi, which is a really cute little rescue pup, and he is with you from the very get-go of the game. Nice. He's kind of like the stock standard, because you're the rescue corps, you gotta have a rescue pup with you. Just makes sense, so he's the first ally that you have on this planet when you get there, and that was something that I feel like I was a little bit hesitant on, of just like the inclusion, because just me being like I've only played the first Pikmin, just like the standard, just me and my Pikmin. I don't need these other like super buffed characters, but I've just totally grown to fall in love with Ochi. This character you also upgrade throughout the game. So when you rescue different people, or I think it is just when you rescue people, you get something called a pup drive, and that's essentially just like a skill point for Ochi. And like everything, you upgrade everything at the start of the morning. So before you go on your expedition, you go to like that main hub, and then you have different people that you talk to upgrade different things. So the captain of the ship, you speak to her, and then she does all the upgrading through, all the training for Ochi. And I was kind of surprised on just how much was actually in there. I was expecting like maybe 3 little trees, and you just go down like the standard, just strong, fast, like those sort of things. But like I feel like I really kind of have to lean in a direction. Now that's not saying like I'm sure I'll be able to get everything eventually, but like a lot of them cost like maybe 3 or 4 of your pup drives, and you only get like 1 for rescue. So like it's not like you get just a lot of that resource, so you kind of do have to choose what direction you want to go in. Some of the different areas that you can upgrade Ochi in is like me, I upgraded his chomp ability, so he's really good attacker. He can take out enemies really easily, but I also increased his strength, so he can carry things just like any other Pikmin. But where I have him now, I think he's in like the super buff category, so he basically is the equivalent of like 25 Pikmin on his own. Yeah. So yeah, it is really cool in that sense. And just progressing through the game, he learns the ability to like swim, so you're not like drowning in the water. And then it's really adorable. All your Pikmin like hop on him if you choose to ride him as well, and then he can just like doggy paddle through the water. And he's just such like a little loyal companion. And of course, I'm just a dog lover, so it's always scratch my itch there. And every time that you train him, you get given like, I think it's called like a scruffy bone or something. It's almost like a health buff for him, or if he is getting just slapped around, his health bar is really low, you can give it to him for a quick heal. And he does eventually like just like faint, essentially. Like he gets like TP'd back to his little pod there, and you can't really use him until you go back and heal him manually with your scruffy bone. And if you don't have one, I think you just don't get him for that day. You probably just go back at the end of the day. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I absolutely love the inclusion, especially just comboing your different Pikmin like in battle with Ochi. I find myself mostly riding him just because it kind of keeps my character out of peril, as well as while you're riding him, you can manually do this like charge attack, which is just so strong if you're using your ice Pikmin to just freeze an enemy, and then you can kind of like stack your stun effects and things, and then just follow it with a charge, and you just like crush through the ice. So I found a good rhythm of the combat, and that's something too that I just really, really like. And I can't remember what the Pikmin 1 gameplay was like, but in this one, it's like the triggers to like alternate your different types of Pikmin, so you can kind of do that on the go and then throw which ones you need. Sometimes it's kind of difficult if you have like, I don't know, 3 lightning and like 1 blue or something. So you're like trying to find the specific one, but because you're limited in the amount of Pikmin that you can, or the types of Pikmin, I
guess that's why they do it, probably, right?
Yeah, it would be ridiculous.
So that's not something you can upgrade that you've seen in the tree to be able to have 4 or 5 types out or something like that?
No, yeah, it's just 3 max. So
do you have to choose that at the start of the day, or can you go back to your ship and like switch it during the day?
Yep. Anytime you go back to your little pod there, you can just interact with the onion, and then you can select which types, how many you need. And something that's actually really nice too is when you go into one of those sub levels like I was talking about, the little dungeons throughout the map, it'll basically like warn you as to like what type of perils are there. So it'll also like kind of suggest which Pikmin are probably ideal there. Like if it is like a fiery cavern, it probably isn't a best idea to take your ice. So you'll take all your red Pikmin that are fire resistant, and there's some that are like lightning, so of course you take your yellow ones there. So and it's nice too because it just kind of teleports your little ship there, so you don't really have to worry about if you have Pikmin at your ship, because of course when they finish a task they just kind of sit there at the onion. You don't have to like go collect them before you go into the dungeon. You just interact with the dungeon, and then when you go in it has like your little space pod that like shoots down there with you in your onion.
Nice.
And something I can't remember what Pikmin 1 had, but were you able to like move your base around like the specific areas?
No, it's
Okay.
one set home for sure.
Yeah, so I thought that was something new, and it's really nice because, of course, if you're venturing deeper into some of these areas, and maybe that's just because Pikmin 1 might have had smaller areas than what this one was, but there's different like landing pads that you can go to that will just make it a lot more efficient. If you're
Nice.
getting treasure in like the top north corner, you don't have to just wait for your Pikmin to go all the way back and then go back with them just to like whistle and get them back with you. So that's really nice. And because I like this game is, and Pikmin in general is just all about like almost that min-maxing strategy and like figuring out what best to do with your day.
It's like Nintendo RTS, right? Like it is very
Yeah.
much has some of those that ethos, that design.
100%. And something that I think is new to this one is the term of Dandori, which apparently is the Japanese term for doing everything in like an efficient manner.
Okay.
And they like worship that ideology in this
I love
game.
that. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
like there's even something called Dandori Battles, which is really cool because you can play locally, like on a Switch with a friend, which would have been a
Yes,
great Gauntlet game back in the Gauntlet days. But you basically are just trying to get as many basically sparklium as possible, so as many treasures as you can before the enemy does it. They have like a story mission to introduce the concept, but then after that you can either play locally or against AI. Unfortunately, you can't play online, which is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, it's
Just one of those like Nintendo things I shake my head at. Like, this just doesn't make sense. I feel like there could be some really good competitive Dandori
Pikmin
matches.
esports, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'd be down for that.
And it's funny too, because like if the enemy's carrying an object, you can just throw more Pikmin than you, and then like the Pikmin are basically doing a tug of war with the object, and it's just so funny. And then
Nice.
of course you have Ochi. The enemy has an Ochi as well, so it's like the different pups that are going against each other, and you can throw all your Pikmin on like the pup to like stun it. There's just a lot of different ways that you can interact, which is cool.
You just wanted to check that out, or is there like missions related to that if you're just a single player person?
Yeah, like the first time that you get introduced to the concept, it's an actual mission. You have to rescue someone. And he's like, I'll give him back to you if you beat me in the Dandori
yes,
style. You have to
right.
prove your Dandori ways.
Yeah,
They always say. And
That's hilarious.
like even just like a big motto of the rescue corps is like, make sure to have Dandori in mind, because it's just like like you're racing against the clock, and that's always been the concept in these Pikmin games. So it's funny they have like an actual terminology for it, the Dandori Master.
That's amazing.
So it's just a nicer way of saying min-maxing in my mind.
Yeah.
Super efficiently.
An in-universe way.
Yeah. So yeah, I love the inclusion of Ochi, the rescue pup. A lot of different interactables there. It actually you can switch positions with Ochi as well. So there's certain areas that you're kind of separated from Ochi, and then you can go to just only playing as Ochi to like get through an area, navigate a certain thing, and then I mean vice versa for your character. You're obviously a lot slimmer than what Ochi is, so you could hop off of him, go through like a little tight fence, keep moving on. If you need Ochi to do something on the other end, you can switch to playing as him, which is obviously a new concept because they didn't have Ochi in the any other games. And you don't do it too much, I found. Maybe some later missions it will be, but it's really just like a puzzle, a puzzle tool, I would say. Because
Yeah, it kind of sounds like just like a little Portal 2 co-op, but a single player version of 5.
Yeah, exactly. And like even when you're carrying stuff, because like I said, Ochi is like the equivalent of like 30 Pikmin or something. If you're carrying something, it's not even like you can like walk around with it. Like it just kind of, you put your hands off the keyboard or sorry, off the controller. It says like hit B to cancel with like the animation. So anytime I'm kind of doing that, I'll just switch back to my actual player character. And yeah, then of course that's something new too, that you can kind of like customize your own character, and it's not the most in depth, it's not cyberpunk level of character creation by any means, but I did have a lot of fun.
You can't
just
choose the
making
size of your boobs, is what we were saying.
Yeah. You can change the size of your
Classic
face, I guess,
cyberpunk,
from various templates. So my character is just like, he has this really like stocky, like unimpressed face. So it's so funny though, because like certain interactions, if you like find someone, yeah, like the dialogue is like really happy. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe we found him, and my character's just like this, like all the time, just just like really grumpy, like he does not want to be here on this planet. And then you have Ochi next to him that's just so happy all the time. And yeah, I just really like the set of characters that I've been introduced with. You got Olimar out there that needs rescuing. I need to get him eventually. You kind of like interact with him in the in the prequel type, or in the prologue type area. So it's not like a spoiler spoiler or anything like that, you do find out that you need to save Olimar really, really quick. It's basically the main reason why you're there. So yeah, I really, really like the story elements of the game. I just love the feel of it too. It does not feel too clunky. There is certain like aerial enemies like bugs and stuff that kind of zoom around, and I find like it
Hard
does
to
have a
aim at them.
locking feature, like to lock onto a target, but it's so like clunky because it's almost like your target already has to be over the enemy, and then you hit lock, and then it'll lock on. Like it won't just lock on someone that you're facing. So sometimes it can be pretty difficult to hit like a flying target. I honestly, most of the time I don't even lock on because I just find it easier to like move around, face the target, because I would have had to anyways with the lock. And when you are locked on to cycle to different enemies, it's not really fluid in my opinion. It's not like, again, like the Souls-like games where you can kind of just like move with your analog stick to like that direction. You're just kind of like hitting the lock button, and then it like will go to the next target. Hopefully the one that you want it to. So I just find it a little too clunky. Maybe I just need a little bit more experience with it. But yeah, not my favorite lock-on feature there. So the combat mechanics could be a little bit more refined, but just the adventuring and everything, I feel it's really what I was hoping the Pikmin feel to be. It doesn't feel clunky. Like when I'm jumping with Ochi, I don't feel like I'm getting hitting invisible walls here and there. Like I'm expecting to get the results out of my movements that I am actually getting, which is always good. You know, it's not like I should be able to jump over this object, but I'm not. That's always frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I was going to ask about the combat, but you've pretty much answered it. I think, I mean, the Pikmin one doesn't even have a lock-on feature, so sometimes you're just flinging Pikmin around. You don't even know where they're going to end up.
Yeah.
But it just seems like the inclusion of, well, one, all the just new Pikmin that have been in the game, even from Pikmin 2 and 3, right? Like the Ice Pikmin, that's a really fun classic kind of ability there. But the mix with Ochi and his ability to like dash in and stuff like that, it just changes combat. And if you don't have, I guess, any Pikmin with you can still do some combat. So
Yeah.
it sounds like that's just overall quite a bit an improvement, which is something I already thought was like, you know, it's still fun in Pikmin 1, the combat, very much about like trying to hit weak points or trying to get enemies out of their environments or making sure you're using the right types and stuff like that. But now that puzzle's even just a bit more complex because of all the different Pikmin you have, but then you also just have so many more options. So that just sounds like an overall vast improvement.
No, exactly. And like you have to be conscious of what Pikmin you're bringing out for the certain mission, because if I'm using one that like an ice Pikmin that's really effective against a certain enemy just for like the freezing aspect, but if it's like a fire type, like they just get marked instantly, and it's just, I see my ghosts and I just say goodbye to all my collected Pikmin, and I'm just really sad for a little bit. So you do have to be aware of just the dangers of where you're bringing your Pikmin, because a lot of Pikmin just can't swim, you know. So if you if you forget to call to them or something and you accidentally maybe throw them too close to the water, like they'll just completely drown right there, right in front of your eyes. It's terrifying.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, because that's something that in the first game, I mean, it's a criticism I've heard, and I can definitely understand it, where sometimes the Pikmin are just really dumb, which honestly, like from a story perspective, kind of makes sense that they would just be silly and not understand what they're doing. But there's definitely some frustrations of like, okay, I'm not even feel like I'm that close to the water, but some of them will just run into the water and then they're kind of stuck there. Or if you have to do like really tight, I will say a platforming sequence when it's a really small ledge, and if they fall off the ledge, then you kind of have to move them around again. Obviously, for you and Ochi, you can just manually control that. But do you feel like that's something that's been improved? Because in the first game, they kind of just had like, they either follow you or you can use like that little arrow pointer, and then they'll like funnel that way. But then they like start to bunch and spread out, and then they'll just fall off ledges and stuff, and it can be a bit of a mess. Do you feel like they gave you a bit more control there, or are they just like smarter in general? And you just mentioned that they jump in the water sometimes, so it sounds like that still exists. And maybe Nintendo wants that. Maybe that's intentional, is they want them to be kind of dumb and you're losing them and they're asking you to be more careful with them. But sometimes it feels like I wish I had a little bit more precision.
No, absolutely. And I feel like a good remedy to that is actually the inclusion of Ochi. And I was saying that I mostly am riding him, and that's not just because it keeps me out of peril. It also just keeps all my Pikmin in one location. Like I'm never expecting them to just fall off, because they're all holding on to Ochi. So wherever Ochi's single unit entity is, that's where all my Pikmin are, and they're not going to be falling off the ledge. and yeah, like I think that's a big reason why I haven't interacted with that too much. Honestly, is just the fact that I'm always on Ochi with my Pikmin. There was certain moments when I was in an area where like Ochi couldn't get to, so I just had to like walk with my Pikmin. And I did notice like walking on a bridge, they just kind of like fell off the sides, and then they're just idling. And then I like get back to my ship, and I'm like, where the fuck are these 6 Pikmin? Like where did they go? I didn't send them anywhere, but they just like fell off the certain terrain. So it probably is still very much a thing, and it probably just like to your point, like maybe Nintendo does want that. It's something to balance on. Yeah, you have this army of Pikmin, but you know, if you just leave them in a tight area, they should be falling off. Like it's not like you're just invincible in that sense, because they are just little plant-like men that maybe aren't the smartest. They are little goofballs.
Not a lot of room for brain going on inside
No.
those tiny little
Absolutely.
heads and bodies. I guess I think maybe my last question is just like how do you feel like the puzzles are in the game? I think that's something I really enjoyed in terms of like, you know, getting down to those final 30 days when I played through Pikmin 1 just recently, and like, man, I don't know how to take out this enemy. Clearly it's not just like a combat thing. I don't need just more Pikmin. There's like some puzzle element to it, and discovering like, oh, I had to grab bombs and put these ones over here and like just suicide them, and the enemy would stomp on the bombs and figure out this thing. Or they're just certain areas where I'm like, it really stumped me for a few in-game days of like, man, how am I supposed to get to that piece of treasure and stuff like that? So do you feel like there's like some good puzzles? Has anything stumped you so far where you're like, a mental note, but I'm coming back to that because I don't know what to do at the moment? Or maybe it's just like, maybe I need a different Pikmin, so maybe some of those puzzles will make more sense when it's like, okay, I have all the types, and now I still don't know how to solve this. That's where I'm getting tripped up.
No, 100%. I very early on into the game, I completely forgot that the yellow type Pikmin were like lightning resistant. Okay. I don't know. I just thought that they were light. This is also like before I even had them unlocked. I was at an electric gate, and I just kept like throwing my Pikmin at it, and they'd get zapped. And then I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Okay, then maybe I have to find like a generator and like turn it off. And I was looking everywhere for this, and I was so mad because I spent like an entire in-game afternoon looking to get through this specific gate to find this really cool. It was like a Game Boy Advance SP cartridge. That's what was behind this game.
What was the game? What was the game?
It was in Japanese.
Was it an actual Nintendo game? Or
I'm
was
sure
it
actually is a real game. That's a guess. I haven't checked it, but I'm pretty sure that one was called like the Table of Entertainment or something, or something along those lines. It was just like a flat surface. But yeah, I just really wanted to get in there, and I just couldn't. And of course, if I just was patient with the game and introduced to the lightning resistant type, I would have just got through it no problem. But for like a good moment, I'm like, I am missing something here. Like there has to be something that turns off this gate. And then of course later on, like I found that there's like ice gates as well. So it's just like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. But for the specific puzzles, I wouldn't say there's anything that's like completely stumped me that I've just like been frustrated. I mean, other than the gates, but that was just kind of a brain fart moment. It's mostly like, okay, I kind of see how to get to there. I'm gonna have to do some certain things to get ready to get through that puzzle, if that makes any sense. Like maybe I have to get some more of a certain Pikmin type, or I have to get some resources to make a bridge to get over there. So there is a little bit of planning in that sense. And again, like back to the Dandori idea, like what should I do in the most efficient manner to get to this goal? And just the way that the game makes my brain think like that, I love it. And I think that's why I love these games so much, is that like RTS feel to it, because you are harvesting resources, you are managing your population levels to an extent, and just trying to find out the most efficient ways to go about spending your specific days. And I just love RTS games for that reason. And yeah, this is just a really cutesy version of that. I've been talking a lot about the gameplay, but just like the art in general, like the areas that you are at, they're so vibrant, and I just love all the different enemy types. You know, some of them are really, really scary looking, and some of the like they have these like birds that are basically made out of like dandelions. It's just like, that is such a creative little, because like their head is just like the perfect, like, you know, like the white dandelions that you just blow and they'd float away. Just some really old looking toad monsters that just look like really ancient, and just a really cool monster design. And again, like I've interacted with maybe like 5% of the enemies, because there's like 110 unique types, which is just crazy. Of course, there's like the The ones from the first game, I forget their specific name, but just like that style with the big beady eyes, the big mouth monsters.
Yeah, they're called like Bulborbs or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It's a gross name. So yeah, I really like the enemy types. I really like just the locations. Every character that you interact with, they usually have like their own little style. I had one character that had the exact same face as me, and it was so funny when our two characters were interacting. Because like I had green, grouchy face. We had the same like hair template, but mine was green and his was red, and we're just like staring at each other, like reading like the text, of course. But it was just a funny moment I had while playing the game. So yeah, and then maybe I should reference my notes so I don't miss anything major.
Well, while you're looking at that, I was gonna say like, I don't think you should feel bad about the yellow Pikmin thing, because I'm 90% sure in the first Pikmin that there is no like electric ability to them. I don't think that's a thing at all. Like there obviously is the fire and the water, but I think the yellow ones in the first game like just have the ability to pick up bombs, and then you can throw them like higher than the other ones. But yeah, I don't think there's any electric powers, so I don't think you should feel too bad about that.
Okay,
that
good.
That is an addition for you. Maybe if you played Pikmin 2 and 3, I'm sure they add that, because even in Smash, I'm pretty sure like there is an electric effect on them. But that would have been Pikmin 2 or 3 in at that point. So yeah.
And yeah, you actually reminded me of another note I was going to bring up, which is actually a con. And in Pikmin 2 and 3, I've never played them, but I looked into it, and they actually had like co-op where you play as another basically rescue corps type member. I don't know if they're called that, but an explorer, Olimar equivalent, and then you'd be playing like the same type of style as him. This game has co-op, but it is just such a laughable co-op in my eyes. It is one player plays as like your adventurer, and the other person is basically just a crosshair on the map, and you just like throw like stones or something like at an enemy, and I think they have
Mario
like a story
Galaxy
reason
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sucks,
100%.
man.
I know. I was so disappointed.
Because Pikmin 3 had like full on co-op.
Yeah, I know. I was
so
so bummed
weird.
about that, because I mean, I was getting this game regardless. I'm super jazzed for it, but I was excited, to sit down and play some couch co-op with it, and because it is just such a really
Dandori
cool
battles, pretty much. That's the only
Yeah.
thing you can do.
Yeah, exactly. So it is unfortunate in that sense. I feel like like the story reasons it works for what it is. Like you are the one person coming to rescue, but you don't really need to stretch the story too much to just make it to have like a clone, a clone of your same character just doing the same things. Maybe it'd become a little bit of a balancing issue if you're doing like the same missions, but you just have double the amount of Pikmin.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's pretty easy to remedy. So I was rather disappointed in that, because especially that it was like advertised as being co-op, like you can play co-op, but it's like, come on, that's not co-op, that's assisting.
Even like the co-op person plays as Ochi, and you can like switch, like that would be
a good idea.
That's maybe not the ideal solution, but it's like that's better than that, and that seems like
it's
it'd be
way
pretty
better.
easy for them to implement that, considering that you already can control him and like from that perspective anyway. So that seems like it would be easy to do. I wonder why. They did that. I mean, you said you unlocked Dandori Battle. Like, maybe you unlock something like that, but it'd be really weird if they didn't have that from like minute one, even before you have any unlocks. So that just seems like a total miss, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. So bummer there. It's not enough to really like kill the whole game for me, because I mean, I'm mostly just playing alone anyways, and Shay could play through it eventually once I've had my turn. So yeah, something else I'll speak upon on like the world building, because I just love it so much. Every little like log that you come across, like if you interact with a Pikmin for the first time, you have a little log that comes up, and it's so awesome because every single one is written by Captain Olimar, and it's talking about like the first time that he's interacted with these creatures, and I just love it. It gets me all like every time I interact with something new, even if on this new planet when we're going into a new like sub level or dungeon, you get like a little quick like briefing of it, and it'll be like Olimar, and he's like, yeah, I know it was like a perilous journey. I wish I had a headlamp with me, like it was super dark. So then in my mind I'm like, well, that probably signifies that I get a headlamp at some point, so I'm just gonna not go in here. And then that next day I had the opportunity to buy the headlamp through like the laboratory. So went back to that sub level that I had discovered earlier, and I don't know if you would have been able to play through it. It didn't like stop me from going in the first time without the headlamp. I just maybe it would be extremely hard.
Bring like glow Pikmin in there.
No,
yeah.
Yeah, and this was before I actually met the glow Pikmin, so it wouldn't have fit there anyways. But yeah, just I love all of the Olimar catalogs, and he's just seen as this like legend in the eyes of all these Rescue Corps members. It's like we got to save the legendary Captain Olimar. So I just really love that because he is the one that started the whole series, and
yeah, that lore text and writing for his character in the first game is great too. Like just really fun. Whether it's just flavor text, but then there's always like a little bit of hint in there, but like how to interact with certain objects in the environment or certain enemies and stuff like that. So that's cool that you still get some of that fun Olimar writing in there.
No, absolutely. And like when I loved it when I think it was when I met the blue Pikmin. It was like because it's like his writing or whatever. It's like they have these like really weird shaped like gills on their, and I totally forgot that it's a gill on their mouth. It's not just like a frown face that the blue Pikmin have, because they just always look like they're like gasping or something. But apparently it's a gill.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, cool. I never knew it was a gill. I just thought it was a smiley face. So that's news to me. But then he's like, yeah, and they seem to be covered in blue, so I've decided to call them the blue Pikmin. Wow. It's just like, oh, great idea, Olimar.
Huge brain on Olimar.
Innovator, yeah. So and again, like they're all kind of written creatively like that. It's not just like a boring way to write the text, and I just like it because it adds a little bit of just immersion to the world. Of actually.
Nintendo is not. It's not rare for Nintendo to have just like totally skippable dialogue, so it's good that that Pikmin's crushing it over there.
No, absolutely, and like I was saying, I just really love all the different characters that I interact with, and like for that reason, it's just the different personalities they have. Like there's certain characters that are just like super shy around a certain character, and you don't even really know why, but they're just like all the dialogue is like super weird when that one person is interacting with someone else, but when you're interacting with them, it's not so much. So I imagine I'll just learn a little bit more by talking to them. I think that is the case, but it's just, I don't know, I was not expecting that at all. Just for those different interactions there. But yeah, no, I really, really love this game. I'm really, really digging it. Like I said, I feel like I barely scratched the surface with it, but I'm still like I'm in the 4th area, but I just feel like I have so much yet to do on what I've already passed, like to get to that 4th area of like going back, and I want to get all the treasures and everything. But then there's also like I feel like so much more to go ahead. And when I was reading online, apparently this game actually has like really good end game content. Like once you've rolled the credits, apparently that's when the game like actually turns on. And I don't even know what that means for a Pikmin universe. I am super intrigued about that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if there's not the time thing, it's really just at that point you have all the Pikmin, you have all the areas unlocked, and you can just go get all the other bonus treasures and stuff. Go into those what are they called? Sub levels.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah, I'm very interested in finding what that is. So I mean, I'm gonna have to come back on here and talk about it once I reach that level. Give some time for spoilers and everything. But yeah, no, I highly, highly recommend this game to Pikmin fans out there, and even just newcomers to the Pikmin universe. I feel like this is just such a great reintroduction to the universe, because like Captain Olimar's in there, but like you don't like it's I don't think I'm missing anything for not playing the 2nd or 3rd game, so I feel like you're not really missing a lot by playing the first game either to get into this one. And it has a lot of new, it has tons of new features that just completely blow me away. And maybe something that I kind of wish they had was like a different different difficulty setting, just because I feel like there is certain things that can be just pretty easy where you almost want to like self-nerf. Like this game has what are they called, like single-use items. So by playing through the demo entirely, I got like 5 bomb rocks or something, and those are so incredibly strong. You can just like basically one-shot like a giant monster with them. So and like I have 5 and I've used 1 like since I've had the game, because I just don't ever use the items. I just find a lot more satisfaction like using my Pikmin, and even then it's not like it's really that challenging. There is certain things that like I would say like the enemies can be rather unforgiving. Like maybe if I just send some Pikmin to, I'm doing my Dandori tactics. I'm trying to just be efficient. I'm getting them to collect things, take it back to the ship, and I'm like, I can take out this enemy with the few Pikmin I have. And all of a sudden he like rolls over on you and you just squish, and now I have no Pikmin, and I'm just like running away from this giant monster. Like, I should not have done this. So yeah, it is easy when you're fully loaded, and I feel like that is the vast majority of the time. So I don't know. I maybe that's like a new game plus type thing. Like how I was saying, like the end game content is really there. Apparently, maybe that's what it is. But I don't know. It seems pretty. I don't even want to say easy in some aspects because you do still have to kind of be on top of things, but it can be simplistic if you have it all down pat. Like I kind of want it to be challenging where I have to be min-maxing, but I feel like I can kind of be a little bit loosey-goosey there. And I think that's something that you could have remedied with just maybe 2 different difficulties. Like you got the normal casual mode and then maybe a more hard intense mode. And who knows, maybe that's something that they'll add in the future. I think that could be really, really interesting. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for like my notes that I have right now. Nice. I really, really like all the collectibles. Like I've already said, they just feel satisfying to get. And I'm just really loving the gameplay loop. I don't think I'm really going to be bored of this game anytime soon, and which is good because there's so many things to do. There's tons of things to do. And like I said, it's not like one set main mission. You kind of have to do at least like the big main 5 pillars of getting, like rescuing everyone, getting Olimar, getting the ship back together. Like you do have to do all these things. But yeah, no, great game.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing all that. It was very exciting. And I do want to get it, but I also know I have Pikmin 2 sitting on my Switch right now, ready to be played. So I don't know what my decision is going to be. I think I'm going to chill for now, but someday
it's going nowhere. It's going nowhere.
This game. Yeah, I mean, it's great. The Switch is now just such an amazing place. If you want to get into Pikmin, all 4 of the games are available for purchase. So that's really fantastic to see. So yeah, great time to be a Pikmin fan, and I'm excited to hear those updates when you're further in the game. After our first break, I will provide an update on Tears of the Kingdom, of which I've played a lot more since the last time I talked about on Sidequest. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. So I've talked about Tears of the Kingdom twice now. Of course, I was pretty late to get to the game because I was away when the game came out. But yeah, since the last time I played it, I probably have like another 15 or so hours, maybe even a few more hours than that in it. And it's been at times slightly bumpy, but I think overall like a really great, really fun time, which is not a shocking take, I suppose. But yeah, I had a weird experience with the game, which was that I don't know, I was kind of treating it a bit maybe too much like Breath of the Wild in terms of it being a very open, freeform game, of which it's actually not at many times. It's quite a bit more linear, and there's things you're unable to do, and I feel like they really want you to go do certain things before you do other things, but then they almost like don't want to get too in your face about it because looking at Breath of the Wild and how freeform that game was. So I had this really weird experience where I guess my strategy for the game was kind of like, okay, I'm going to go around, I'm going to get all the towers, I'm going to do a bunch of the shrines just on the regular overworld, and that way I'll get all these towers, and that way when I'm doing quests and stuff later on in the game, I'll have so many fast travel points and these height advantage points that I can really just cruise around. And then, I got to do a bunch of the shrines because I need to get more health and stamina, because you just need that to do anything in this game. And so that was kind of what I was doing. But, that wasn't necessarily the most exciting things. It's like more or less I'm kind of just redoing things I've done in Breath of the Wild at that point. There's, of course, some new features. There's new mechanics and whatnot, and some things have changed in the overall map. But then I got to one point in the game, and there was like this, sky island, and it was like just these towers flying high in the sky. And I was like, okay, that looks really fun. I want to go do that. So I was climbing this set of towers, so many different steps of building all sorts of weird, strange contraptions with rockets and like blimps and stuff like that to just get higher up. And it took me so long to get to the top of this thing. It was probably like a half an hour, 45-minute long journey just on this, trying to get to this top of this one sky island. It was a long effort. I didn't even know if my character was powerful. I didn't know if I had enough stamina. I didn't know if I had the right abilities and tools and stuff to do this. But I was like...
You're too far to question it at that
exactly.
point.
I'm at this point. I'm so far in. So I get all the way to the top of this thing, and there's nothing there. There's one more island, but like I cannot get to that. Like that's just too high to access. And I was like, I spent so much time. There's not a fast travel point at the top of this. Like I just Googled it because I'm like, there has to be something I'm missing here, and I do like this felt like such wasted time. Yeah. And then it was like, oh yeah, you have to like have done this quest, and then you can access the content up here. Like there's not even a fucking chest that I could get for doing all this hard work
to get to this point.
Not a
And at
single
that point,
rupee.
I put the game down for like a week or two. I'm like, fuck
Yeah.
this game, man. Like, I thought I played Breath of the Wild. It's such an open, freeform, amazing, just lets you do whatever the hell you want. Why is this like this happened multiple times now? And this was just the pinnacle of like wasting all this time on this thing that I'm not even allowed to access. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna change it up here. Like clearly, how I felt like I wanted to play this game is not how you're supposed to play it. So instead, I just started like. After I loaded back to my save, I'm still on the top of this island, so I'm like getting a little bit of salt, residual salt from like a couple weeks prior. Then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna hunt down some quests and do some more of these things that feel like early game quests that they probably want me to do. And so this is when I finally checked out the depths, which is obviously a big part of this game, which is like there's this whole underworld version of the map with all sorts of stuff going on down there. And it's this funny because to this point in the game, I'd never unlocked the camera, which is something in Breath of the Wild where you could just like take pictures of all the different, plants in the world or enemy types, and you add them to your compendium and you're building up your, pretty much like your Pikmin map of like all these 100 monsters. The same thing there. You're taking pictures of them. And I was like, oh, interesting that Tears of the Kingdom doesn't have this because that was such a big part of Breath of the Wild. But at the same time, I was like, I guess I already did that in Breath of the Wild. Like, there's some new enemies, but like, do I really want to do that again? But it's funny that like, 10, 15 hours in, it was like, oh, I guess I just didn't do this mission in the depths where you unlock the camera. And so I had done all of these hours where I didn't have it. So I finally went down to the depths and you're, sent off to go take pictures of these certain things. And so I was like, oh, okay, I guess I finally have the camera now. I'll start taking pictures of all these things I've missed, these early game creatures that I missed at this point. And yeah, the depths is a very interesting place. It's weird in that it's incredibly dark and you have ways to light up the area, and you're going, the equivalent of towers is like going to get these light roots, and those light up a big large section. And then usually if you look out in the distance, you can see the hint of one other thing, and there's a couple lights off in the distance. But yeah, it's incredibly dark. It can get pretty scary at times. Just today I was going through some more area in the depths, and I had like this little kind of paper airplane kind of equivalent little flight thing, and I had a couple rockets. So I'm like, I think I want to go generally that direction in the depths. I can't see anything, but I'm just going to throw a couple rockets on this paper airplane. It'll send me way up in like near the roof, and I'm just going to float. And I was just floating through complete darkness for like a good 2 minutes, just kind of like riding the wave, riding up and down. Eventually I'm seeing some red. I'm like, oh, there must be like some sort of platform over here. And then at one point, like just out of nowhere, I just crashed into a wall because I could not see what I was doing. So that was a good spooky moment. You definitely get a lot of those in the depths. And eventually I climbed up this mountainside and found like another light route thing. It could keep going on there. So yeah, I like the depths. It seems like there's a really interesting way in which things happening on the surface are related to like maybe there's like an equivalent or mirrored thing going on underneath, and some really cool puzzles of like there's an area you have to get on like the regular overworld map, and you have to like go through the depths to get there, like find this point underneath it, and then you can like go up through using the ascend ability.
The Underminer.
What's that?
The Underminer route.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like the Underminer. It's so that some of that stuff is really cool, and there's some cool puzzles. I think maybe my one critique is like obviously the depths mostly it's so dark you can't see much, but even when you do light it up, like it looks like garbage. Like the art style of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is obviously very simplified because there's so many mechanics and stuff that I feel like they couldn't go for a hyper stylized or higher quality kind of thing. They had to go very stylized. And I don't know what they did with the depths, but it just looks ugly. All the environments, the fauna and stuff, like it's big huge mushrooms and stuff. It should be kind of cool, kind of like the big Skyrim like underground areas, but instead it just kind of looks like crap. So that's kind of a disappointment, but obviously you're not seeing a whole lot, so it's not too big of a deal. But yeah, there's some really crazy, weird, and kind of creepy stuff going on down there. So that has been a fun thing to explore. Shortly after that, I went and got the Master Sword. This is something I wanted to get really early on in the game because I didn't get the Master Sword in Breath of the Wild for a very long time. That's the one weapon that like you use it up, and then when you're out of durability, it just has to like recharge, whereas every other weapon breaks when you use it up, right? So that was something I wanted to get early on, and without spoiling what it is, I guess like the location of the Master Sword is a really cool kind of puzzle in this game, and that was a really satisfying thing to get. And thankfully, I had just enough stamina. Well, I was missing just a bit, but I went to upgrade my stamina with all my extra points, and I had just enough to get it. So now I have the Master Sword, and it just does so much damage relative to like I feel like where I'm at in the difficulty level and stuff like that. So that's really great.
Master Sword, I'm sure it was a cool location wherever you get it, but it should have been up on that tower that you climbed up for 40 minutes. You know,
Oh
it
my
would have
God,
been
you're
satisfying.
right.
Eh?
It really should have. That would have been a great place for it. And then, I mentioned this when I've talked about Tears of the Kingdom on previous episodes, but one of the things I was most looking forward to or hoping for was that the shrines would be better and that the dungeons would be better in this game. The shrines, I think, are so-so. Some of them are pretty mid, but there are some other ones that are very fun. And just because of the wide variety of options you have, I feel like so many of them I've just come up with the jankiest solutions where I'm like, I guarantee you that is not the intended way, but it feels so good that I was able to figure out this other weird janky way that I was able to do it. But I finally got to my first temple, which is like the equivalent of the dungeons or the divine beasts from Breath of the Wild. I went to the Wind Temple, which is a really cool series of like platform, once again, climbing massive towers, and like you have these huge trampolines and you're going way high in the sky. You have to go like above a tornado that's in the sky or like a cyclone, and like that's how you drop into it. So that was a really cool moment of discovery. But then just like the Divine Beast, like the temple itself was kind of shit, to be honest. Like it was not, the puzzles and stuff were not very good. There's like pretty much no combat. And there's even just this frustrating thing, which is similar to that tower where I climbed it up, but like I hadn't done this other thing yet, where essentially in the Wind Temples, might be slight spoilers, but the game's been out for a while now. I'm spoiling things for you, Kirkland, but we gotta talk about it here.
Go ahead.
Where essentially there's like 5 or 6 engines on this in the Wind Temple's like a giant ship. There's like these different engines, and they look like I tried absolutely everything I could to get this thing powered on, and I could not figure it out. I'm like, I swear it's wind. This is the Wind Temple. I swear I have to just blast wind into it. So I tried. You can use like a palm frond essentially to blow some wind, or I got like one of the devices that blows like a fan to blow wind into it, and none of that worked. And then I eventually figured out that there's like this little bird dude that's helping you get up to the Wind Temple. But then when we got to the Wind Temple, he's like, okay, like go to your thing. He's like chilling there. So I'm like, okay, I guess I solved this temple on my own. But then I just had to go talk to him again, and then he like tagged along again with me, and then I had to use his wind ability to power those engines.
Oh, that's grimy.
So that felt like such an anti Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom thing, where it's like I knew the solution, but instead of coming up with my own creative way, I had to do it in like this one specific linear way that doesn't really make any sense at all. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like maybe there's a couple of those engines you can't get to unless you have him. So maybe that's a reason why, but it just felt really weird and really antithetical to what the game is. And so I think I came away from that like pretty bummed out. And the boss fight, it was like kind of fun cinematic, but it wasn't really a challenge or an interesting fight. Like the boss didn't even really ever attack me at any point. I took 0 damage. The bosses in the Divine Beast were also really bad, and this was, I guess, more interesting than those. But I guess this is something I was hoping for, was a bit more of a glow up. But I guess truthfully, like the more interesting part was getting to the temple, and that was a fun set of platforming and challenges and stuff like that. And that did feel very non-linear. I felt like I could go a bunch of different ways, and so that was cool. But it was a bit disappointing that the temple itself was kind of lame. So hopefully the other ones are better than that. And now that I've done it, that guy's with me, and I can always use his wind ability, which is really helpful for maneuverability, especially in those depths when I'm flying free on my plane and I don't know where I'm going. It's really nice to have that particular ability.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to ask a couple things there. With the depths, because that's the new feature they or new location, I guess, that they introduced in Tears of the Kingdom. Is it like a completely different like realm, or is it just like just the dark depths? Like it's just like a cave or something below the ground that you go to. Like it's very reachable. It's
so there's still like caves that there was in Breath of the Wild, which is just like on the side of a mountain. You go into this cave and it's like this some small thing, but the depths are it's pretty metal, honestly. Where you there's like this there's these chasms around the map, and I think I've seen like a good like 10-15 of them, and these are like the entrance points to the depths, and it's like you can see like this red chaos stuff, I forget what it's called, some sort of corruption is like surrounding these chasm points, and you just essentially jump down this hole. And it's a really cool moment because you just fall for so long, and it's like in real time. It's not like a loading screen, which is really cool.
Oh, that's
I'm
cool.
sure it is loading. It's just like hiding it in this long time that you're falling down. But it's really cool because you're falling for a long time, and then eventually like the rock around you turns completely black, and then you're dropping down, and when you like for most of the depths areas you can't see anything, so you're just dropping into complete darkness. There's a little bit of blue fairy lights here on the side, maybe maybe there's a bonfire over here so you can see a little bit of something. It's like, hey, I guess I'll go there first. But it's like, it's always a bit spooky, especially after you've been falling for so long.
Yeah.
I know, Kirklin, for you with your, fear of heights, like going down there would probably be like, oh, it made a little pit in your stomach kind of thing. So it's a pretty cool moment dropping into them, I got to say. And yeah, there's a lot of different entrance points. So that feels like everyone's going to have a different way of how they explore the depths and kind of it seems like one large continuous map. You're kind of connecting them through those light routes where when you're unlocking areas of the map. So that feels pretty cool. And then there's like hidden areas and there's a bunch of weird different stuff that's going on down there. So they definitely make it feel like a different realm. And I've even seen I saw one area that looked like a huge like dwarven mine sort of area. Where I think it was like lava or something. It seemed like this whole like kind of Morrowind-ish city going on. So excited to explore more of some of that stuff. I think right now I'm still trying to just like unlock those light routes and get more of the map uncovered. But yeah, I definitely, it's fun getting lost in there and definitely a little bit spooky. And a lot of times there's not even like enemies. Like there is combat, but you'll go a good like 20, 30 minutes without even seeing an enemy. So it's just you in this dark, lonely,
the atmospheric,
creepy place. Yeah, and yeah, the music down there is also, it's not like all the music in this game is pretty light, kind of more in the background, but there's some nice, just slightly creepy themes that they throw in there.
Nice, yeah. And is there like different items or something that you get like throughout the story to just navigate the depths a little bit easier, or just things that make, I don't know, your time in there a lot more comfortable, or not so much?
Yeah, I mean, so you're picking out like one of the main resources you're getting is like, it's called a glow fucking stick or something. I don't know what it's called. It's like these little orbs that you throw them, and then it like creates a section of light that is temporary essentially. And so that's what you can either throw them down or you can use your bow to shoot them much further away. And then there's like a smaller one or a bigger one. And so that's what you can use to help you navigate. But then as is everything else in the game, like the different vehicles you can make. So whether it's those planes I was talking about, or you can make cars, you can make whatever the hell you want in this game.
I've seen people's lowriders online. They're pretty crazy with hydraulics and everything.
You can make some wild stuff. So in theory, you could just make one. You can get a lot of those resources to make stuff in like a capsule, and then you can just carry it in your inventory. So you could just go down there and make a car, and you could put lights all over it if you want. And then you could that could be your thing of how you cruise through it. So that's definitely a method. If I find some good resources, I'll have to try that out. It might be tricky because you don't know what kind of terrain you're going into. But yeah, that could definitely be another way you could do it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I feel like something coming into Breath of the I almost called it Breath of the Wild 2.
It's so hard.
Tears of the Kingdom is like, yeah, you're on the same map for the first time in like 2 consecutive Zelda games. So like, how can they just make it new and interesting as opposed to just having more things to do, like the creation method. What is it even called? Like your creation thing?
Ultra Hand is like what the ability is called that lets you like pick up and attach things, and then just Fuse is where you can like take any like put a rock on your sword or put a mushroom on your shield, or once again anything you can do. But like it feels like there's very few limitations. That's like, to highlight that is the strength of the game. That is the best part, and the shrines that give you a good puzzle of giving you a few odd and end items, and then like some strange, like either it's a chasm you have to get over, or you have to get high up or something like that. Those are like the best moments when you can feel like just make some monstrosity weird creations. And I guess I wish there was a way that the game was doing that more, I guess, and really just honing in on that, because sometimes I feel like it would just take so much time and it wouldn't really be of any benefit. But like then again, those are my favorite moments. So I feel like I need to train myself a bit of like, even if it doesn't make sense logistically, like still make a weird ship or boat or whatever it is, some flying airplane kind of thing, and just try and use those as much as you can, because that's definitely the highlight of the game. The freedom of that system and how much you can connect and build like whatever you want is freaking cool. It's really, really great.
No, that's fantastic, and that's what's so upsetting about hearing just like that area that you found after like 40 minutes. Like you think that they would at least, like, if you can get there, like at least reward the player for getting to that area, especially that they give you so many tools to just explore everything and just go anywhere with how creative you want to be. And yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate. Just it seems limited just by story advancement, which I mean, I didn't really play that much of Breath of the Wild, but it seemed like that wasn't really a thing. I just always heard like, yeah, right from the get go, you could go straight to Hyrule Castle and just take on Ganon if you wanted. Like that's just something very unheard of to me. So it seems like they maybe took a step backwards in that aspect for this next game. But who knows? Maybe it's more story reasons.
Yeah, I think just to some extent I have to. It's just like I got to train myself to like, okay, I should do quests in this game. Like that seems like more of an important thing because obviously I've experienced the instance now many times where I've been gated out of certain content for not doing that. So I have been doing a bit more of blasting through some quests on my travels. So yeah, that's been a good time. So nice. Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying the game more than I was. It's definitely getting a lot spicier now that I'm exploring the depths, exploring the mainland, and exploring the sky. Like the trio of that is pretty cool. And man, at some point I'm gonna have to jump off that high peak and go all the way down, like through one of those chasms into the depths, and just fall for like 15 minutes straight. All right, it would probably take you a good like maybe like 5 minutes of just like pure falling, which is pretty cool. That's just how expansive it can feel at times. So I'll have to try that at some point. That would be a fun, even if it like doesn't do anything for me. It's just a fun little challenge. I put on myself. That'd be cool.
100%. I feel like that's such a there's been so many games that I've done that, just climbed to the highest point and just jumped off. Let's just see what happens here.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, so I'll keep updating as I'm going with this game. But how about with there's one other game I was kind of checking out, but maybe I'll save that for next week, and we can instead talk about Spider-Man, because of course you got that Venom poster right behind you. Venom's all over the kind of thumbnail, I guess, for this new trailer that's out. So yeah, Spider-Man 2 coming out in October. Just got a new story trailer. I guess it was at San Diego Comic-Con is kind of where it was. So there wasn't much MCU news going on there, but there was a couple game things, and one of that was a new trailer for Spider-Man 2, which showed off quite a few things. It kind of showed us more of Harry, showed us more Venom, showed a little bit of Craven going on there. And I still have not watched that full state of play thing. So if I say something's new that's maybe it's already been shown before, you can correct me there. But yeah, you were on that episode with Travis breaking that all down. So how are you feeling about Spider-Man 2? And how did this trailer kind of affect your hype levels?
Definitely increased it, I would say, purely for my boy next to me here, the big bad Venom booty daddy in all of his glory. He had a little bit of a variation on his suit, which I I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like it's a little bit lesser to me than like the OG. For the video viewers here, you got just like the white spider on the chest, but this one it looks like he's kind of got some white up on the shoulders. It reminds me of like the PS4 Spider-Man suit, how like that included just some more, I don't know, whiteness to the suit itself. So
right, I guess I didn't even notice, but I'm looking at like just a clip of it now, and yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of wings going on. Go up to decorate his shoulders, right? Yeah, it's a bit different.
100%, and like it's something that while I play like the game, it's not going to bother me at all. But just seeing it, it's like I hope they have some different variations of the suits for that. If you're able to play as him, I hope that's the case. So yeah, I'm super hyped by this. I don't know. I really love that PS4 Spider-Man game, and the story wasn't even the strongest story that I've experienced. So this already seems like it's going to be a step up, just including like Peter's friend with Harry. So there's going to be some consequence there, as well as just the edgy Peter that's been with the symbiote for a little bit of time now, because in that state of play there's some point of emphasis that Peter's getting a little bit too aggressive, a little bit too crazy, and Miles is already noticing that. And a lot less of that in this trailer here, because it's more of just like Peter not like in the suit, it just like actually interacting with MJ or Miles as well as Harry. So I'm really intrigued with the story as just how all these moving pieces are going to go. I don't think it's going to be anything super surprising, but I would love to be open to that. And I'm also curious as to how much Norman is going to be involved in this game, because of course he was I don't want to say a super big part of that first game, but he was definitely around for majority of it. So I'm curious if we get a lot of that in this game, or I think it was Travis that predicted maybe the third game, like that would be the Norman moment. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because he only popped up in one scene in this trailer, right? Which was
With
Norman
Harry.
and Harry talking,
Yeah.
and then it looked like a symbiote was in the background, like in a
Yeah.
tube or something, right? So I feel like it's kind of seems like all but confirmed at this point that Harry is in fact Venom, which is like the leading theory I feel like that
Yeah.
people have had for the last few months. Would you say that's like 100% confirmed or 99% at this point? It seems like that's what's going on there.
Yeah, I would say so for sure. And I mean, maybe that's the reason why his suit doesn't look exactly like Eddie Brock's suit, right? The
Sure.
actual Venom itself looked very Eddie Brock Venom, but that Venom's kind of been on many different people.
Yes. Yeah, and so it seems like another thing that's going on here is obviously we know that Spider-Man, or I guess I'll say Peter Parker's Spider-Man, is getting symbiote powers because that was a big showcase thing from that state of play or showcase, whatever the hell it was. So it seems like at some point in the story, he's going to get completely taken over, and it seems like I'm guessing that at that point you'll be forced to play as Miles, and we'll probably have to fight him or something like that, and then you knock some sense into him, but then he still retains those powers somewhat so that the player can use them, but then he's a good guy again. You can, because I forget, I don't know if they've confirmed, but like you're switching back and forth just. And I'll say GTA 5 style, where you can go like back and forth at any time.
I can't remember if they've stated that's the case,
missions,
but that's how I was
like,
thinking.
Here's your Miles mission, here's your Peter mission, that kind of thing.
Alternate here and there, because I think they even showcase that in the showcase of like you're playing as Peter and then it switches over to Miles. Okay. So there will be those missions, I'm sure.
I'm sure those PS5 load times can do some pretty quick transitions there, so that'll be pretty cool. But yeah, I think that'll be a fun, even though they've kind of telegraphed it, I think that'll still be a fun moment in the story. Who knows if it's like for literally one mission or if it's hours of the game where you're kind of I'm not going to say stuck as Miles because his moveset's cool too, but I think that'll be a good kind of filled with peril sort of moment when you're kind of stuck on your own. You've lost one of your playable characters. We saw a little bit of Kraven here. I like his look. Of course, it's different. Like Spider-Man PS4 had very different looks for all of those classic characters, and it was much more tech focused. And they've done a similar sort of thing with Kraven here. It's a bit different than his traditional suit, a little more techy, and he's kind of got an axe and whatnot. And then he's got his goons, and then it seems like he has like almost like a panther, like a robotic panther or something that he's kind of controlling and whatnot. So I'm into it. Of course, I like the classic Kraven look and all that, but I'm okay for them to create their own looks, and even for Venom too, I'm fine with them doing that sort of thing. So yeah, Kraven looks cool. Seems like he'll be a good, maybe secondary villain in the game, in the way that like, I mean, there's so many villains in Spider-Man PS4. So I'm guessing we're gonna get the same thing here, where we're gonna get a bunch of people on the side, little people that we're gonna be fighting, and then even bring back some of those smaller characters from the first game as well. Fight some of them again, that kind of thing, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would expect nothing less, and I'm really hoping for even just more villains. The Spider-Man. Marvel in general, mostly the Spider-Man antagonists are just they're so iconic. I love them so. I'm even hoping for some like recurring ones from the first game. Maybe someone that wasn't definitively beaten down. I'm trying to think of who could have been in that category, just because I don't know. Like Rhino, I did like the missions, but in hindsight, I always just prefer the more ridiculous Rhino, where he's not just a big mech suit. He's just a dude in a suit. But to try and find like a middle ground of that, I feel like at the end of the day, I'm okay with what we got, but it wouldn't have been my perfect pick there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just hoping for those side missions to really hit hard. Maybe some like the Taskmaster stuff. Like I feel like that was just something that was really unexpected in that first game. So maybe a certain character that's familiar to the Spidey fans that can kind of fill that role as well.
Yeah. One thing that I'm not in love with, and they did this, so from Spider-Man 2018 to Miles Morales, they changed Peter's look, right? Like his face was completely different, and it's still something I'm getting used to. Like when I still see him in these trailers, I'm like, who is this guy? And I think that it was just such a weird choice that they made, and they said that it was like for some tech reasons for mocap and stuff, but that seems like some kind of bullshit excuse from my limited knowledge of that kind of thing. But they've changed MJ as well in this game. She looks completely different. She still has red hair, but other than that, it's like that's a whole new person. I like the look of 2018's one, so I don't know. I just don't like this. It messes with my continuity. It messes with my connections with these characters, and like for me, it's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And these characters look fine. So obviously Miles, he looks the same, thankfully, because that would feel probably even more jarring because
Miles Morales, that sequel was a more recent game. But yeah, I'm not digging this weird changing the character faces thing. And I think MJ I don't like the new look for it. That's not my MJ.
No, I completely agree. I did not. I honestly didn't even really notice MJ in this one. I just noticed Peter, and like I didn't know that he was different from the Miles Morales one. I still haven't played that one. So when I saw him in there, I just purely thought it was because of the symbiote. I'm like, man, they're changing. It is affecting him hardcore. Yeah, it changes his entire, because like his hair is different, his face is different. He looks smaller to me, like this different version. So I don't know. I completely agree with you. It's a weird thing, and the reasoning is, I'm not satisfied with that explanation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is there anything else from this trailer? Because I didn't feel like there was too much going on. There was mostly like, okay, expect Peter going to do a turn. I would say more confirming without confirming that Harry is Venom, and just really establishing Venom as the big bad of this. I don't think this is a trailer that they needed to do, but I'm sure there was something to do with like, Comic-Con's happening. Let's get a new trailer out there. What can we highlight? Let's touch on a couple new things. But like they kind of did a full breakdown right in that showcase recently. So it didn't really feel needed, but it was still nice to get a couple updates there. And I don't know, showing more of the Harry Venom thing. Even before this trailer, it felt like that was going to be the case anyway. So it didn't really feel like this was even too much of a spoiler or ruining that.
Yeah.
And I guess at this point we'll probably get maybe one more trailer before the game comes out. I don't really expect them to do a state of play like they've done for some of their bigger games, where they do like a 15-20 minute state of play like just on one game. I feel like that'd be a bit overexposure for where this game is at right now, considering it's also the third game in a series at this point. But so I guess maybe just like a big trailer, kind of a launch trailer at this point. I don't know. They really could go ham with the marketing. I kind of hope they don't, and maybe I'll just tune out some of that stuff if I don't need to talk about it on Sidequest. But yeah,
I agree. I feel like this trailer could have been, like, I would say push back to closer to like almost that last trailer slot. That's what I feel like this trailer could have been, because I didn't really necessarily need it. It does make sense with just the timing of like the conference and everything, but like my biggest takeaway out of this is just confirming the actual look of Harry's Venom, because that was something that we were kind of, Travis and I were talking about on the showcase, because they didn't show it in that showcase, and we had Peter's black suit Spider-Man, but we didn't have, black suit Spider-Man.
Yes.
I don't know why that sounded weird in my mind. But like the symbiote suit, I guess. But just what that would have looked like on like the Harry version or the different version of whoever might take that mantle. So it's like I can exhale now knowing that they're not going to do some fucking weird Spider-Man 3 thing where he's like a lankier version of Venom, and he, I didn't want them to get creative in that sense. Like, change his suit a little bit here and there, like what they did, but keep the bulky Venom, and that's exactly what they did. That is one of my favorite. It goes back and forth, top 1 or top 2, just like the Eddie Brock Venom as like my favorite Spider-Man character of all time. So that look to me is so iconic, just the big brute. And I don't know, I'm really hopeful that maybe that's more than just an antagonist, possible playable type character. I'm really, that would really blow my mind if we could do that in game, because the last time I did that was in Ultimate Spider-Man on GameCube, and I love that game so much, purely because you could play as Eddie Brock's Venom. You could switch between Spider-Man or Venom, and yeah, it was just so fantastic. So that's my biggest takeaway out of this trailer, but everything else, I agree with you. I didn't really need it. I was obviously already sold on the game beforehand. I don't know, it's nice that we're approaching that date.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that actually brings up a good discussion here, which is that another thing that happened today is, I guess we got kind of confirmation. I don't know if this is through like some people doing some sleuthing on LinkedIn or something like that, but it seems like Insomniac is confirmed to be working on a third game right now as well. And so we don't really have too much information on this, but this is just some fun speculation we can have. So obviously Spider-Man 2 is coming out in October, Wolverine maybe next year, if not the year after. And it seems like there is a third game in the mix there. So obviously Ratchet and Clank, you could kind of look at that. I don't think it is Ratchet and Clank. I feel like it seems a bit too soon. I don't know if that's as exciting. They had that new one for the launch of the PS5.
That was only like a year or two ago, right? That brand new. Oh, it was a launch title. I thought it came out a little bit. I guess time's just moving too fast.
Yeah, was it a launch title or was it launch window? It might have been launch window, but it was certainly in that first year of the console existing, first 6 months. Because yeah, no, Demon Souls
Yeah.
was a launch title. Astro's Playroom is like the built-in game or the pack-in.
Okay. Yeah.
Was Ratchet and Clank? Can you confirm that? I'm curious, actually.
Yeah, 2021 June 11th, and then like the console's released November, right?
Oh no, yeah, because Miles was the launch title, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that would obviously because that's also Insomniac. So yeah, it was Miles first, and then they did Ratchet and Clank, and now they're here over here doing Spider-Man 2. So with this third title, of course, this could be just like they're in pre-production of another game, which is not a shocking thing considering that they've, considering how recently they released both Miles and Ratchet, we have to assume that there was at least 3 games being worked on at a time. Worked on,
Mm-hmm.
you can say it however you want, but it's a huge studio. They have a lot of people working over there. So I guess, yeah, is it Ratchet and Clank? Is it another thing in this Spider-Man universe, like how they did
Right. Miles
Spider-Man
Morales.
2018, then Miles Morales is like this smaller kind of half-size game. I'll say, like, would that be a place for a Venom game if they want to do that? Because I know you're maybe hopeful for that. I feel like there's, for me, 0% chance that Venom's like playable in Spider-Man 2. I just feel like that's a bit too much. Maybe I'll go 1% chance. Maybe there is a chance, but I just don't see it happening. But I think a spin-off, not even spin-off, but just like a smaller sequel thing of like Venom as a playable character, that could be
Yeah.
really cool. And I mean, those Venom movies like are surprisingly a big deal and stuff. And like, so I could see them doing that, even though it might seem a bit odd for them to go over there and do a villain or an anti-hero, but maybe he's even redeemed a bit within this game. So yeah, and then of course there's Wolverine's happening as another thing. So yeah, any speculation from you on what this other Insomniac project could be?
I feel like I'm mostly leaning in that like what would you call it, like the side game, the adjacent titles of the Spider-Man ones, like how you would be pitching like that Venom one. If it isn't playable in Spider-Man 2, I feel like I'm in like the 80% chance that it is the next game. It seems like such an easy market too. Just like look at the numbers for those terrible Venom movies. Everybody the vast majority of people just love this character. So to give the players an opportunity to play it would just be super, super epic. And I think that like looking back on the Ultimate Spider-Man game, like those Venom missions, the mechanics for Venom were very like basic and like bare bones, but I still just like play the shit out of that game. So I can only imagine how creative they can kind of get with movesets. I mean, just comparing it to like the 2018 PS4 Spider-Man, or even just how they up the ante with some cool new gadgets for Miles Morales. So introduce I guess it would be Harry, and like that would be another thing. Like maybe. Because me personally, I can't see the Venom symbiote like dying in the game. I think it'll always just kind of be around somewhere, and maybe they defeat Harry and then it slithers on over to an Eddie Brock type character, right? So I think that could be really, really cool. And just I don't know, that game, like I can kind of already picture a story of him just trying to like handle the balance of the suit and trying to come to terms with his new life there. It's also kind of how the Ultimate Spider-Man game went, but that's besides the point. So I would probably put my money on that, especially just coming off this trailer. It's in my frontal lobe, so it's the only thing I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see I would just love to see Insomniac work on Marvel games for like a good 10, 15 years, and they just keep crushing these things. Whether like, who knows if Wolverine is going to be in the same universe as this and there's going to be any sort of connectivity. We'll have to wait and see when we get any more information on Wolverine. I'd be into it, but I'm also fine if it's not, or even if it's just very much like lightly alluded to, but they don't really go into it in a meaningful way, we'll say. But yeah, I'd love to see just more and more of these Spider-Man games. I would love to see them break it down other characters. Like, give me a Daredevil game, give me a Blade game. Like, I think they'd be great fits for something like that. Or even, with Wolverine doing more X-Men stuff. I don't know if they would do a full-on X-Men game, but that's an easy way to like, each new iteration in this series, you introduce a new playable character, whether it's X-23 or just some other, fucking Gambit or something. That would be kind of a weird one, but I'd be into it. But yeah, I'd hope to see Insomniac just crushing some Marvel stuff for a while, because they're
they're just doing a great job with it. Even if I didn't love Miles Morales, I think that was just strictly because of the scope and scale of the game rather than the actual quality of it. And I'm very excited for this sequel where I get to play as both of these characters and just expand on this world that's going to have like a trilogy of games now, which is kind of a crazy thought because it feels like, I mean, 2018 was not that long ago, and now we're going to have 3 games in this series. Like, that is pretty wild, and that's just Insomniac. You know, what is that? Sorry, what was that term from Pikmin? The Dory?
Dandori.
Yeah, Insomniac is all about the Dandori culture, man. They're just crushing it with these games, like releasing stuff all the time. So
I love it.
I'd love to see all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kirklin, I think that does it for this episode of Sidequest. I believe Travis will be joining me next week, and I don't know what we'll be talking about yet. We'll have to wait and see. But once again, check out Patreon to get that Arcane ranking episode. That'll be nice and early up there, and if not, you can see that on the main feeds pretty soon. Very excited for that, Kirklin. I've been looking forward to this.
Long time coming.
Since even literally January when we started first playing Arcs, you know, I've been thinking about these lists, these rankings, keeping track of like things on my list. So I'm very excited to finally dig into it. It'll be a very good time.
My first entry on my rankings, it was on there. Yes. So it's kind of been a long time coming with my list. So I'm excited to share it with you guys and the rest of the world.
All right, good stuff. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for Taylor for crushing those thumbnails. And we'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.